Hello to one and all. Happy Wednesday. Hump day. Halfway home to the weekend, my friends. And our first weekend since September. The National Football League has come to an end in the aftermath of Super Bowl 57, wrapping up last Sunday in Arizona. Kansas City Chiefs win. Rihanna's Super Bowl was all right. Rihanna's pregnant again. And that's our NFL coverage. We'll see you again in September. No, I'm kidding. Of course, we'll be back. We've got lots in terms of fluctuation when it comes to all things National Football League, with the Chicago Bears on the clock as we look forward to the end of April NFL draft. What are the Bears going to do with the number one pick? Are the Indianapolis Colts, who are expected to select fourth overall this April? What are they going to do with their pick? They need a quarterback. So there's lots of NFL storylines to get to, no doubt. But on this 15th day of February, let's talk about what y'all did for Valentine's Day. I'm kidding. I don't really care. And it's funny, though, because we all have traditions, right? I think we can all agree that Valentine's Day is a holiday that's marked in February by the corporate overlords to make sure we spend money and buy gifts that we don't really need. But it's funny because we can only react and do things that we saw our parents do or saw other successful people in successful relationships do. And I spent my whole life watching my dad buy my mom cards every Valentine's Day my entire life. So what do? I go and I buy cards. I don't buy flowers. I did buy a box of turtles yesterday, the chocolate kind. But I think I bought the chocolate turtles more for myself than I did for her. But I did buy her a card. I bought her a card from our dog, Hank, as well. It's those little moments. It takes no time out of me, but it means a lot. That's what it's about. It's about the meaning, right? But I can only do, what I saw my parents do, what worked for them. My parents are still together. So I do kind of what my parents do. And we had lots of fun. I hope you enjoyed Valentine's Day, however you so chose to celebrate, perhaps watching the Montreal Canadiens with your lover in the Canadiens 4-0 win over the worst team in hockey, one of the worst teams anyway, in the Chicago Blackhawks, as the Canadiens skate off with a 4-0 win. Justin Barron collects his second goal of the season. Yoel Armia, Christian Dvorak also score for the Montreal Canadiens in that 4-0 win. I want to talk about frustrating players that have worn the Montreal Canadiens colors in my lifetimes, guys that I grew up watching, guys that I'm watching today. I'm curious, who for you would be the most frustrating Montreal Canadiens player you ever watched with your eyes, that every time, they missed an opportunity or their point production was below the expectation, they'd be like, damn, what is with this guy? And I think Alex Kovalev, right, would be one of the on the Mount Rushmore of most disappointing Montreal Canadiens that we've seen in our lifetime. But I got to tell you, Jonathan Drouin for me is one of the most aggravating, frustrating players I've ever watched, I've ever covered. And you know this, I'm pretty consistent here, right? Like Jonathan Drouin, 31 games into his campaign, still in pursuit of his first goal of the season. No, the guy's on fire. Not going to lie, it's undeniable. He's got 11 points in his last 10 games. He's got 12 assists in his last 12 games. Had 3 assists yesterday. Nice assists on the Yoel Armia goal and the Christian Dvorak goal. And that line yesterday had been very good for the Montreal Canadiens. They're fast. They're dangerous. They're creative. They're moving with speed. They're passing the puck with precision. That's why the Montreal Canadiens, for the first time since November the 8th, have found themselves on a 3-game winning streak after that 4-0 win over Chicago. Jake Allen, pretty light night of work, 22 saves. He earns his first shutout of the season. Captain Nick Suzuki gets run over by Connor Murphy. Josh Anderson comes in. He kicks Connor Murphy's ass up and down the ice in a lopsided fight in the first period of last night's 4-0 win. When it comes to frustrating players, though, man, Jonathan Drouin, man, he really gets me. And I try to keep it even keel. I try to call it like it is, right down the middle each and every time. And like we said, when I see forward progress, I'm here to talk about it, and I'm here to acknowledge it, especially if you're going to consistently dump on a guy for lack of production, lack of engagement. You have to call it the other way when you see the fact that he's constantly engaged, when you see the production, when you see the effort, right? But it's lines after the game that drive me up the wall. And maybe I'm taking Jonathan Drouin's words too literally when he talks about what his future has in store for him. 3 assists and a 4-0 win yesterday. And he's talking about how if a team wants to make a play for him sometime now or in the days leading up to March 3rd, or if no deal is struck between the Canadiens and another team for Drouin's services, Maybe something happens in the offseason. Like Jonathan Drouin is more or less resigned to the fact that his contract is up and he's not going to be back with the Montreal Canadiens. I don't think there's any surprising news in that development whatsoever. What was surprising to me, what was aggravating to me in the aftermath of Jonathan Drouin's post-game comments on a night where the Canadiens won 4-0, where he picked up 3 assists, and here he is talking about, well, I have to show these teams something. I have to show a team that I'm willing to contribute, that I'm willing to engage, that I'm willing to be a consistent player night in and night out, that I have to be able to demonstrate those assets to other teams. What are you talking about? How is that even logical in anybody's mind that Jonathan Drouin has looked at the calendar struck February, and you're 6 weeks, 5 weeks away from the NHL trade deadline, and now it's time to kick it into third gear and maybe fourth gear eventually? Like, I'm sorry. That is loser talk. That is defeatist talk. That is a player talking after a game when everybody's riding high. The team has won 3 in a row. Jonathan Drouin put up 3 points, and the Canadiens won 4-0, and this guy's talking about having to kick it into another gear if he wants to show and make a positive impression on another team. Like, what the happened in all the games prior to this stretch of good play from Jonathan Drouin, showing good vision, showing playmaking, showing an ability to make his teammates and his line mates better, showing the ability over 12 games to make his line look dangerous. And now he's decided to play. Now he's deciding to play for his future. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but if I'm a general manager with my head on right and I'm looking at what's going on, and I've consistently delivered this message, right? Martin St. Louis, to me, comes across as someone I would want to skate through not 1, not 2, but 3 brick walls for. Martin St. Louis' relatability factor is off the charts. Nobody in the Montreal Canadiens room, from Marc Bergevin to Martin St. Louis, nobody has a bigger impact in terms of a presence, right? Like, there was a great bit, I think it was in The Athletic, where they're talking about, yes, it was in The Athletic, they're talking about Martin St. Louis' first speech as coach of the Montreal Canadiens and how there were over 100 people in the room because they wanted to know what he was going to say. So we can't think that, and that's being reported in this market, and think for a second that Martin St. Louis is some flake, some guy that comes in, doesn't know his arse from his elbow, and everybody tunes out as soon as MSL walks into a room. It's the exact opposite of that. And that didn't move the needle for Jonathan Drouin? That didn't move the needle? The prospects of getting out of Montreal and trying to find a new home, that's what moved the needle? Like, I'm sorry. If I'm a general manager in the National Hockey League and I see what Martin St. Louis has provided to the Montreal Canadiens, and I see how some individuals have performed under Martin St. Louis, and then I contrast that with Jonathan Drouin's performance, and I contrast that with what Jonathan Drouin is saying after the game, I'm not touching this guy with a 10-foot pole. I'm not touching this guy. No way. I want nothing to do with this. Attitude and trust. I don't think he's got the good attitude, and I don't trust him. And I ain't giving up any asset worth a penny to bring Jonathan Drouin into my organization. I know everyone talking about Jonathan Drouin. I was told last summer, and again, take it with a grain of salt, because remember this, Stefan Waite told me Carey Price was coming back 100% because he just spoke to him 2 days ago and looked me in the eye on a golf course telling me that Carey Price is coming back. You can bet on it, Sean. What did I do? I took that information and I ran with it. Wrong. Dead in the water. Not even close to being right. So take it with a grain of salt that I was told by an NHL player. Don't be surprised by Christmas time that Jonathan Drouin asked for a trade. Well, obviously that hasn't happened, and now here he is talking in the aftermath of a 4-0 win on a night where Jonathan Drouin performed rather well and has been performing well consistently. 3 assists last night for 12 points in 12 games, 11 points in 10 games, so he's better than a point a game over a decent sample size, talking about how he has to put the right foot forward and make a positive impression to show other general managers and other teams that he's still a productive NHLer. Get out of here. Get out of here. It's not someone I want on my team. Don't trust him. Don't like the attitude. All of this in the aftermath of the Montreal Canadiens really finding the tough part of their schedule coming up tomorrow when they play at Carolina. Then they're at Toronto on Saturday night. So it's 4 straight road games, four games over the next 6 nights. And if you're unaware of what's ahead for the Montreal Canadiens, my friends, know this: no team in the National Hockey League, no, not even the Florida Panthers. The Canadiens have now leapfrogged Florida for the toughest strength of schedule left to be played. So what does that mean vis-a-vis where the Canadiens are likely to end up in the draft lottery? And this is why I keep telling everybody that Martin St. Louis is the perfect coach at the perfect time for this organization. His relatability, his ability to motivate guys and to get performances out of Jonathan Drouin, Yoel Armia, Christian Dvorak, Evgeny Dadonov, Mike Hoffman, all of these guys are all performing much better and more consistently, right? It'd be very easy to check out here because I don't believe any of those players that I mentioned, and I mean all of those players that I mentioned, bring anything of substantial value back to Ken Hughes if we're talking one for one. I'm not talking about throwing Jonathan Drouin in with a prospect or a pick or whatever else. I'm talking about Jonathan Drouin hypothetically out to Colorado because once upon a time he played good hockey with Nathan MacKinnon. Therefore, those two guys are going to have instant chemistry again. That's a line that's going around these days, that Jonathan Drouin is going to go to Colorado to rekindle his relationship with Nathan MacKinnon. That's what's been going on. That's the line that's going on. I don't believe it for a second. But it's unbelievable, right, that what Martin St. Louis has done consistently all year. Let's remember, over a full calendar year with Martin St. Louis, Cole Caulfield scored 48 goals. That's not nothing. That's a lot to build off of. So I like the direction they're headed towards. But what does it mean when I tell you that the Montreal Canadiens have the toughest strength of schedule left for a team that right now has the 7th lowest point total in the National Hockey League? Now, look, I'm going to look at my notes again, okay? I didn't memorize all this. There are a couple of people that like to make fun of me because I take notes and I read notes on my podcast, on a podcast that is both video and audio, right? So my video friends that are watching me on YouTube or Facebook Live, I apologize for not looking you in the eye. For my friends in the audio space that are listening to me on iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't care that I'm not looking at the screen right now, but yes, I take notes so I can have a logical train of thought, right? So I could put my thoughts in a coherent space and have something entertaining that could keep you, and maybe we could talk about all of this, right? And look, so no need to apologize. I'm not, first of all, I'm not apologizing. I'm just letting it known that people like to tell me what other people say about me. And that's fine. I got thick skin. I can handle it. But I just want to make it clear for everybody what's going on here, okay? So what does it mean when I tell you that the fact that the Montreal Canadiens have the toughest strength of schedule left? Canadiens sit 7th with the 7th fewest points in the NHL standings. Let's talk about the teams that Montreal is trying to catch. Right now we're coming from the perspective of Team Tank. Canadiens have won 3 in a row for the first time since November the 8th. They're taking all the points on the board, right? Arizona, 4th fewest points in the National Hockey League. They have the 22nd toughest strength of schedule left. So Arizona looks like maybe there's a chance there. San Jose, 5th fewest point total in the National Hockey League. 24th toughest strength of schedule to go. They have 45 points. Vancouver, they're in free fall mode. Boy, oh boy, Canucks are a disaster. 46 points, 6th fewest point total in the National Hockey League. 27th strength of schedule left to be played. So there is an opportunity here for the Montreal Canadiens, knowing that maybe those teams that have fewer points than the Canadiens have a much, much easier strength of schedule than the Canadiens do, who have the toughest of all the teams in the NHL and the games left to be played. Nobody has a tougher win percentage to match up against than the Canadiens do. So if we're looking for silver linings, again, from the perspective I'm talking of from Team Tank, if you are on Team Tank, meaning the Canadiens are winning too much, and this is bothering you, I get it. I'm finally there. But there's a chance here. The silver lining is all of those teams that I talked about, Vancouver, San Jose, Arizona, Vancouver, all of those teams have much easier schedules. So maybe there's some wins there, maybe some losses as the Canadiens play a very difficult stretch starting tomorrow in Carolina. And then they're in Toronto on Saturday. So maybe this is the silver lining for people that want to see the Montreal Canadiens at the bare minimum, have themselves a top 5 draft pick. It's not out of the realm of possibility. And continuing on this theme of silver linings here, the Montreal Canadiens core of defensemen are better than I thought at this point. Justin Barron, what a shot. He's got a great first step. I think he's a great skater, just like Jordan Harris is. When Caden Gooley is healthy, he's a legit top one, top two defenseman. You already saw it in the early blush of the season. His ability to not be intimidated by the likes of Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid. Caden Gooley, full value superstar, full value top pairing defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. It's unfortunate Arbor Xhekaj in that fight with Vincent Desharnais from Edmonton on Sunday has resulted in Arbor Xhekaj's, I think his season is over personally. Upper body, shoulder injury. He's out indefinitely. The Montreal Canadiens aren't telling anybody really anything. So we don't know what the timeline is other than Xhekaj out indefinitely. What happens from there moving forward, I don't know. Mike Matheson, when healthy, boy, oh boy, what an unbelievable deal this was for the Montreal Canadiens to get a guy from the West Island to play on his hometown team. Shot blocking extraordinaire on display. Another guy with a great first step, good pass, good vision, always has his head up, always looking around, makes smart decisions on the ice. I'm just a big fan of the direction. Oh, excuse me. I got burps again, you guys. Big fan of the direction the Montreal Canadiens are headed to. I don't think we're talking about like a Buffalo Sabres type of scenario where it's going to take a lot longer than people thought for this team to get back up to a competitive level. I think the signs are there and they're coming. But, you know, to take it back to my question of the day on this podcast, brought to you by Axon, axongroup.com, the knowledge and the assets to get your freight, whether it's cross-border or whether it's domestically here in Canada. They have the knowledge and the assets to get your freight to its destination on time, on budget. Call them for all your transportation and logistical needs. 888-99-AXON, AXSUN, locally owned and operated business in the South Shore and a proud sponsor of In the Car with Star, live on YouTube and at Facebook.com, where you can like and subscribe to our page. The most frustrating player I have ever seen wear a Montreal Canadiens jersey, without a shadow of a doubt, is Jonathan Drouin. Full stop, all day, every day. And the point being driven home for me with Jonathan Drouin after the game last night, talking about, he's got to show that he's still able to contribute, still able to go out there and produce, be an effective player, help a team, provide depth to an organization where he could be a third, fourth line winger. And when the power play time strikes, Jonathan Drouin's number gets called and he goes over the boards, right? Like, where was this guy all season long for Martin St. Louis? Why only now, when the calendar struck February, did Jonathan Drouin realize, maybe now it's time to find that fourth gear and show everybody, hey, look, everybody, give me another contract. I'm ready to play. BS. You know, Alex Kovalev would be on the Mount Rushmore of frustrating players because the guy just oozed talent. You know, I remember the old joke of Brian Savage being called Mr. October because he would score piles of goals in October and then honestly would just dry up and would do nothing for the rest of the season. Those are some of the most frustrating Canadian players that I could think of off the top of my head when it comes to watching guys with talent, watching guys and inconsistent performances, because, again, at the sake of repeating myself, the Canadiens haven't had a guy direct their team like Martin St. Louis, I think, since the days of Scotty Bowman. You know, like, when Martin St. Louis walks into a room, everybody stops what they're doing. You stop lacing your skates. You stop taping your pads. You lift your head up and you pay attention to what Martin St. Louis is saying. And the Montreal Canadiens have won 3 straight for the first time since November the 8th. And they hit the road for 4 games and 6 nights starting tomorrow in Carolina. What are some of y'all saying here? In the Car with Star, proud presentation. K-Stop Gas Bar and Depanneur, Highway 138 in Ganawage. Danielle LaBelle, I'm on Team Tank and it's not looking so good. Je suis d'accord, mon ami. And that's why I'm here to tell you the strength of schedule and what it means, right? There's the silver lining that all the teams the Canadiens are trying to chase, Arizona, San Jose, and Vancouver, all have significantly easier games to be played than the Montreal Canadiens do. If you're just joining us, the Canadiens have the toughest remaining games to be played on their schedule compared to Vancouver, 27th, San Jose 24th, Arizona 22nd. There's a chance here that the Montreal Canadiens could lose some games, while the teams that have fewer points than them right now could win some games based on who they're playing. John, what the heck did he get? First star Allen should have got. Nah, I don't agree with that. Allen had it's very, we can count them, I think, on maybe one finger, the amount of nights where the Canadiens had a relatively easy night. Jake Allen was fine, was perfect, obviously. Listen, I don't like Jonathan Drouin's attitude. That's quite clear here. I've established that in 20 minutes. But I'm not going to tell you that he wasn't worthy of a first star. I had no problem with Jonathan Drouin. The guy was engaged. He was all over the ice making shit. He made Yoel Armia look decent. Steph Howard. What up, Steffi boy? Drouin is doing his best impersonation of Adam Oates. What the hell was Jonathan Drouin before? It tells me he gave up a few years ago. Gave up, not motivated, affected. Like I keep hearing, and again, I don't know, it's speculation, right? I mean, Jonathan Drouin wasn't doing well, and by all accounts, it's not what people assumed, right? When we assume that, look at all this talent. Why isn't he performing? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. My understanding, it was quite the opposite of that. So much so where maybe we're talking about a thin-skinned guy who spent too much time reading what other people were saying about him, and it got to him. But I'm speculating. That's the rumor. With 20 games left after 6 years of no production, talking about Jonathan Drouin. Agreed 100%, says Edward Marwick, in regards to my perspective on Jonathan Drouin. Steph Howard, I would prefer Alex Galchenyuk over Drouin any day, any day, all day, every day. Thank you, Steph. And Alex Galchenyuk, that guy was an absolute train wreck. Absolute train wreck. I had a buddy who lived out in the South Shore and was kind of close to Eric Cole, who rented his house to Alex Galchenyuk. Let me put it to you this way. Eric Cole is never renting any of his properties to Alex Galchenyuk or his family ever again. Pretty sure Hughes and Gordon noticed that. I agree. Talking about Jonathan Drouin. Edward Marwick says, what I don't agree with you is Josh Allen, no 5 quarterback overall. Oh, so this is the end of the morning show today on TSN 690. My pal Simon Salikas was in for Connor McKenna this morning. We should be back, Simon and I, tomorrow 6 to 10 on TSN 690. Talking about Patrick Mahomes, talking about Aaron Rodgers. Where's Rodgers going to go? Because I think he's done in Green Bay. That Patrick Mahomes is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL. I still think Aaron Rodgers is in the conversation despite a bad season for him personally and for the Green Bay Packers. Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, for me, not top 3, top 5 quarterback in the NFL. A little too much gunslinger, and maybe part of that's Sean McDermott, who doesn't like, can't get enough of 40-yard bombs and on third and 8s. It seems like every pass attempt has to be a deep ball, show off Allen's cannon arm. His stock fell a little bit. A lot of turnovers, some bad decisions, and ultimately you got to win these games, man. Like, we could talk about the contracts. We could talk about the generational talent. Well, you got to do something with. You got to win these. You got to win some of these games here, man. John Canadians, this Drouin is a wasted contract. Years of nothingness. I don't disagree with that sentiment at all. And it's unfortunate. The deal is done. Who cares? Mikhail Sergachev was the guy the Canadiens gave up to get Jonathan Drouin, right? And Jonathan Drouin, I'll remind you, came here to Montreal with his chest out, very confident guy, saying, I'll handle the Montreal media. I'll be able to do this. I'll play center. I'll take on that challenge. Talk is cheap. Thanks for all the comments coming in. Don't forget, you can support me by supporting my sponsors, K-Stop Gas Bar and Depanneur, Highway 138 in beautiful Ganawage. It's right over the Mercier Bridge. Support local, the McCumber family, Salt of the Earth people, Donna, the Franks, Frank Jr., Frank Sr., K-Stop Gas Bar, Depanneur, Highway 138 in Ganawage, premium gas at discount prices 24 hours a day. So you never have to worry about being stuck because K-Stop Gas Bar is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Unfortunately, their Hall of Fame snack selection does close. The inside Depanneur portion, where they serve fresh and hot prepared meals every single day with the menu changing daily, and they've got snacks you're not going to get at your ordinary neighborhood Depanneur. They have access to secret snacks And go take advantage because they're open to you. As friends of mine, they're now friends of yours. K-Stop Gas Bar and Depreneur. Don't forget, accentgroup.com, 888 accentgroup.com is their website. Call them for all your information, for all your cross-border or domestic shipping needs. They have the assets and the knowledge to get your precious cargo, because it's precious to them as well, to its destination on time and on budget. 888-99-ACCENT. Call them for more information. accentgroup.com can be found online. Thanks for watching. Thanks for contributing to the podcast. Your comments were great. Tell me in the comments, who are the most frustrated? Give me your top three. Your top three most frustrating Montreal Canadiens players that you've ever seen. Let's hit me up in the comments and subscribe to In the Car with Star. Thanks for watching.